Hello, everyone. My name is Robert Marta, and this is my professional project artifact video. My project was called Creating Relatable Characters That Are Memorable. The focus of my project was to help me learn how to develop characters better, to make them memorable and relatable. So now I'm going to share my screen and go through the artifacts. Okay, to begin with, on the left is the old character sheet that I used to use, and on the right is the new character sheet that I developed during my project. This was part of my project. So these became Artifact 2, Artifact 3. This is an abstract just showing you the major segments of each character sheet. The old one on the left, new one on the right. And then here I have lines color-coded to show you which segments from the old went into one segment on the right. And this organized things better so that I can more systematically create a character that in an order that makes sense to me and helps me to build the next section and the next section. Okay. And then during the phase that I was doing research to understand better how to create characters better, I developed this document, Important Character Development Techniques, to be a guide to help me through some of the more complex parts that are important to developing a character that's memorable and relatable. And then we get to Artifact 11, which is just focuses on character flaws, weaknesses, and strengths. I didn't anticipate needing this, but I knew this was going to be bigger than that development document could handle, so I wanted a separate one just for this. And then one key area is that the minor flaws, as you see this big red arrow here, is what can make the characters memorable. Then there's a list of the minor flaws and the major flaws, of which in some cases you can have a minor flaw and a major flaw that are the same, but the difference is going to be that the minor flaw is not going to halt the character's progress through the plot line or the story. It just will make them memorable because they already argue with everybody. Whereas in the case of a major flaw, that will probably get them in trouble enough that it's going to halt their progress, and they need to figure out a way to overcome being argumentative to be able to proceed. And then I created a short story after creating the characters, but I chose to put the short story artifact in the middle because I intended to read segments of it, and then found out that the first take I did on this was twice as long as it should be. So I'm going to read a very short segment of the story and then move on. And I'll just start with the start of the story and go for a little while. So my mouse moved on its own. Shen scowled. He was expecting his wife. Instead, a life-size holographic projection of his adult daughter appeared beside him. She grinned and bowed. Tia Lee, where's your mom? Oh, her? Mom's helping her mom handle a rogue thunder forest biome dome 2. Her grin widened. Her father, and in a cheery tone said, so I give you your morning briefing, Lieutenant Commander. Shen rolled his eyes. His daughter was in one of her silly moods this morning. Well, at least the report wouldn't be dull with the nuances and embellishments she would add. He nodded as he finished buttoning the frog buttons on his crimson long sleeve shirt. Proceed. And then I'm going to jump down to this part. Please skip to the part, and this is Shen speaking, about the crew. I especially want to know about this seventh Saquidium, which is surely mentioned because of her recent promotion to head of cybersecurity. Shen sat down on his four-poster mahogany bed to put on his black shoes. Gilly giggled and smiled. You asked for it. That would be me. You're reflected opposite in almost every way. Me in a dress, you not. I should think not. And then down here she goes on to say, me flaunting my rank and status with flashy designer clothes, you not. And another part further on where she says, me young, you not. And he goes, I'm only 50. That makes you more than twice as old as me. Hence old. Bah! And you, Shen pointed at her hologram, you forgot one. You, sassy, me, not. So, and I'd intended to read more, but time doesn't seem to allow that. So there was more on the next pages of the story as well. I was going to read all that. But I need to move on. So this is an example of GLE in Artifact 4 and 5. 4 on the left is the old character sheet, 5 new character sheet. Okay. And then this just shows Artifact 5, and specifically this is the new character sheet, and on the right hand side it specifically shows the strengths, weaknesses, and flaws, which didn't even exist in the old character sheet, which I'm surprised at because I knew how important flaws were, and yet I didn't even have a place to record them. This is the character sheet for Shen, and on the left again is the old character sheet. On the right is the new Artifact 6 and 7. And then this is just Artifact 7, the new character sheet, highlighting two of the other major new sections: needs, wants, motivations, and goals, which again, the only thing that was represented in the old character sheet was future plans. And then on the right is scenarios, so that if certain scenarios happen, this is how they'll react. The key pieces that were added to the new character sheet have to do with how the character acts, not so much as their physical attributes or how they dress and things like that, but actually how they'll react under pressure and when different events happen, and what they want, what are their goals, and how they react. And then last, I had a Artifact 10, which is questions for the readers, which was meant to be used to show, to help me understand if I had done what I intended to do. I believe I have. I feel that I have. But I found out from asking these questions to Lim after reading him the entire story that the questions are not formed properly, with the exception of one or two, including the very first one, which he had no problems with that. He had no confusion over the dialogue tags. Okay, and that is my project. And I'm going to stop sharing and end the video.